Hello and welcome to Phoenix, Arizona. My name is Jeremy Fuhst, the owner of this channel, born and raised in Arizona, extremely biased on how amazing Arizona is, but this is the channel to know everything you need to know about making a move to Arizona if you're just curious about Arizona or if you strangely just want my opinion on Arizona. Here we are. Let's waste no more time. Let's get into it. The pros and the cons, the few cons, of living in Arizona. Welcome to Phoenix, Arizona, the YouTube channel brought to you to bring you everything you need to know about moving or living in Phoenix, Arizona. All right, the big one that everybody talks about is obviously going to be the weather. It gets hot. That is no surprise. It gets hot.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
I've lived here my entire life. Summers, sometimes they're unbearable. The older I get, the summers become more and more difficult. I'm like, oh my gosh, man, it's getting hotter and hotter every year. The all-time record's 122 in the last 30 years. 122, you know, that's not too bad. That's bearable. You go outside and you bake as quick as a cookie in an oven, but that's not a big deal. 122 ain't bad. It's when you have consecutive days of 118, 119, 120, and you feel like you can't go outside or you will melt like the Wicked Witch in the West. You will melt. And so it's just important to make sure your eyes got water, you don't leave chapstick in the car, big one, and you love swimming pools. Get by a swimming pool all summer long, get to the lake, get to the river, get into water, and you're fine, man, you're fine. You can go outside and hang by the pool, you take a dip, you hop out, you take a dip, you hop out, you're totally fine. It's a weak con, man, it's a weak one. Stay in AC, don't do outdoor activities, don't go hiking in the morning, big one, do not go hiking in the morning, that will sneak up on you, man. If you do, make sure your Camelback is full of water and you're ready to go. Ready to go. But you know, Arizona weather, it's not too bad. As a con, like everyone, you go on YouTube, the first con everyone says is the weather. It's not that bad. Like, it's hot, sure. It's a dry heat, but you stay inside, you know, you crank that AC. If you have a vehicle with an auto starter, and it starts, make sure you use it. You use it and you get that AC kick in. Make sure it's very, very important if you're a homeowner, make sure you get your AC serviced every 6 months because Murphy's Law, it will break at the least opportune time. Your AC is kicking almost all summer long. It's working very, very hard, and it's very important to make sure your ACs get serviced to make sure in June, July, and August that AC does not break on you, and then that becomes a problem. That is not a fun thing to encounter. So first con, heat, whatever. Get used to it, not a big deal. Con number 2, this is a real one in my opinion. It's the size of it. Metro Phoenix, to get from one side to the other could take you a good hour 15 drive. So if you're coming from East Valley to West Valley or West Valley to East Valley, just, you know, make sure you swing by the gas station, grab some beef jerky and a soda for the road trip. Then you're fine. You know, pop on a good audiobook, a podcast, you're fine. For me personally, I try to plan my day around the rush hours. I definitely don't want to hit traffic up to 10. If I live in the East Valley. If I am trying to get to the West Valley, I try to do it during the day or in the evenings. I don't try to get out there between the hours of 3 and 6. I definitely try to avoid the traffic headed to the West Valley. If you do, just convince your spouse, hey, I'll pay you $5 if you hop in the passenger seat here and we can hit that HOV lane. You know, little life hack there for you. But when it comes to the size of it, it's pretty big. Pretty big. If we look at a map, you can tell the vastness. It's the 5th largest city in the country via population, and it really does take a significant amount of time if you're on the freeways, if you're taking the 10 from East Valley to West Valley. So I'm in the East Valley, so if I'm going to a Cardinals game that's on the West Valley off the 303, it takes me a good hour 15 to get there from where I'm at right now. And if there's traffic, that could extend that, right? That's without traffic. If I'm trying to get to a concert, most concerts are in the West Valley, and most concerts start 6, 7, so I'm gonna hit traffic on the way over there. The Suns game over downtown Phoenix, then it's a good 45 minutes. Definitely gonna hit traffic. And so I try to plan my schedule, my days if I'm doing showings. If you don't know, I'm a realtor. I own a large real estate team here in Arizona, Impact Real Estate. But if I have showings in the West Valley, I try to make sure I plan those around the rush hour times to ensure like my clients don't get frustrated with the traffic. And myself, I don't want to be frustrated with traffic either. But the size of it is vast, and I do think that could potentially be a reason why it's on this cons list, but it's not that bad, right? Just grab that beef jerky, that soda, you are fine. All right, coming in at number 3. is the haboobs, the dust, the sandstorms, the monsoon season. Personally, I'm a big fan because in Arizona there is 300 days of sun on average, and so weather is greatly appreciated of any sort. Rain, hail, snow, wind, dust, whatever it is. I just want something different other than sun. I know that might sound crazy to some of you guys who don't live here in Arizona, but for me, it gets old. I'm like, man, I want some rain. Between the months of June and August, we have something called monsoon season. This is when a bunch of storms come, some pretty intense storms, and it does bring in what is called a haboob. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but that's what us locals call it, the haboob. You can see it in these pictures going on right now. They're pretty wild looking. Sometimes when we see or we hear about a haboob, we go somewhere so we can see it come in. It's really kind of neat, but don't learn from my mistakes. One of the very first haboobs I experienced, it was crazy windy, dust like a maniac. If you've seen the Mummy, Imhotep, very similar type of thing going on there. But I was like, hey man, I was with some buddies and I was probably 20, 21. And we decided to go cruising through this dust storm with the windows down. Obviously the interior of my car absolutely demolished. It's like when you're in a movie and they're looking at dust, and they scrape their finger on something and they see the dust. It was like putting your finger through cake, more like it. Anyway, the haboobs, just stay inside. Gets dusty. Your backyard's probably gonna get messed up. Your cars are gonna get dirty. Just go wash them. Not a huge deal. They're actually kind of neat after the fact. You see all the videos and the photos, and it's pretty wild. It's not a big safety hazard. It is, but not a lot of accidents happen during those haboobs. But just make sure you're staying off the roads. You're driving safe. Stay inside. Keep your windows closed. Learn from my mistake, and you'll be totally fine. And coming in last on the cons list, if you are used to a place where public transportation is the way you get around via subway, city bus, things of that nature, Arizona, not too popular, man. We have something called a light rail, and that's a little train that takes you kind of through Mesa into Phoenix. It's a really good resource if you're trying to go to a ball game and you're going to be drinking. You need to get from East Valley to West Valley, something along those lines. Personally, I don't use it too often. I used to back when I used to hang out with buddies and we'd go out and drink and go to games and things of that nature. And we would just pop into Mesa, take that light rail. It takes about 45 minutes to get to downtown Phoenix, and we're good to go. So if you're coming from a place like Chicago, New York, San Fran, things like this, where public transportation is a big deal, then this might be a weird one for you. You're most likely going to need to get a car. Again, Phoenix is large, very, very spread out. So getting a car, super, super important. Not depending on public transportation will make your life significantly easier. All right, now the cons are out of the way. We can talk about the pros, right? The pros. Very first pro is the weather. I know this is the very first con, but the biggest pro is the weather. Because from the months of October into May, absolutely beautiful. We're talking 70s, 60s. You're gonna cruise into the 80s, probably entering April, and you're literally able to do anything you want at any point in time. You can go on walks, you can go hiking, you can do all the outdoor activities. I'm a big fan of the Phoenix Zoo. Me and my wife take our son all the time, so we're big fans of going to the zoo. But you can do almost anything you want during those months because it's perfect outside. It's perfect. It doesn't get too cold. We might hit a few days where it hits freezing temps, which is 32 degrees. And it's big news when it does that, on the weather channel, when it's like, hey, we have a freeze warning, and everyone goes out with their sheets and they cover all their plants up so they don't get frostbite, But it only happens a couple times a year, if any. But it's giant news when it does. So it doesn't get that cold. For me, I wake up in the morning, let's say in December, and I'm freezing, and it's like freaking 52 degrees outside, and I need to wear 7 different layers in the morning, and you're shivering. That's what it's like. Weather, absolutely incredible. You can't beat it. Maybe California's better weather, but it's incredible weather, guys. Incredible weather. Now, the second pro, kind of low key. No one really talks about this very often, but it's our road system. It's the grid system that the city has planned all around. The grid system makes getting around so freaking easy. So freaking easy. It's basically like just a bunch of square miles, and each road goes all the way north-south, another road all the way east-west. And so navigating is incredibly simple, like something you'll hear people, if you're not from here, you hear people just give crossroads. And they'll say Higley and Baseline. It's on the southeast corner of Higley and Baseline. Now, most people know where Higley is, where Baseline is. So they go down to Baseline, hang a left, and they just cruise down until they hit Higley. Very simple. There's not a lot of weaving, not a lot of turning, just very simple grid system allows it to give directions. So freaking simple, so easy. So if one of your fears is moving to a different state and you're like, well, I don't know how to get around, it'll take you 2 days to figure it out. Sure, it's going to take you a little longer to learn the streets, but it's literally like, okay, go to Baseline, hang a left, drive 5 miles until you hit whatever, Gilbert. It's that simple. So the grid system makes directions super, super simple. You don't have to worry about getting lost anywhere or ending up somewhere where you don't know. We have a couple main freeways, which is the 202, the 60, the 101, and the 10. And as long as you figure those out, you're totally fine. Those mostly go straight as well. And So it's not hard to get around, not very hard to get around. And so it's literally one of the best things about Arizona is that we're built on a grid system, and it makes getting around so simple. All right, coming in at my third pro, which is my personal favorite, is proximity. Where I live, which is East Mesa, in a community called Augusta Ranch, live on a golf course, absolutely beautiful. I can get down to Rocky Point in 3.5 hours. I can get to San Diego in 5.5 hours. I can get to Vegas in just under 5 hours. I can get to Disneyland, which me and my family go to Disneyland all the time, in about 6 hours. I can get to the mountains in about 2.5 hours. I can get to any lake I want in about 30 minutes. I can get to the Salt River to go tubing in about 30 minutes. I can get to anything that I want to do. If I want to get to snow, 2 hours. If I want to get to the desert, walk out my front door. No, I just drive 15 minutes and I'm there. The proximity that Arizona provides is incredible. It's incredible. You know, I have friends who live across the country or the Midwest, and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to Vegas, and they have to fly there, and it's like this big thing. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to Vegas for the night, you know? Me and my wife, we go to San Diego for weekends because we just drive there, hang out for a couple days, drive back. And so the proximity of things to do is just incredible. Like I was born and raised here, so I'm not sure. I think the only place that could rival that would maybe be California and Florida, but you can get to anything you want to do. Anything you want to do. And last but not least on the pro list is going to be the Arizona economy. It is pretty dang solid. We're fourth in job growth, fifth overall in the country, and people are flocking here. And there's a couple reasons why, in my opinion. We're seeing a lot of tech companies move here because we're getting a lot of influx from California. Arizona is significantly cheaper than California, and 20% of the population moving to Arizona is roughly from California. Now, what that does is it brings a lot of talent, right? When there's an influx of migration into a certain state, we get a lot of different sorts of people. From California, they're typically going to be a younger demographic, and they're going to be college educated, and there's a lot of talent that comes in there. And so when it comes to tech companies either moving here or starting here, then they have a good talent pool to pick from, right? And that's super important when it comes to running a tech company. And so when people from California move in here to make it cheaper, we've seen companies like Meta Platforms, LG Energy Solutions, Intel, and Apple not moving here, but using Arizona to build more warehouses. We've seen people coming here to build more chip factories, gigacenters, things of that nature, just because the talent pool is getting incredible, the influx of population, the taxes are cheaper, and the weather is predictable. Predictable weather makes a lot of things easier. When you know there's 300 days of sunny weather, you don't have to worry about any natural disasters, windstorms, rainstorms, things of that nature. It's very predictable. You know when they are coming, and that's very appealing to a lot of these larger companies. So the economy rock solid, and we're diversifying, right? And when things went sour, when the economy kind of crashed in 06, 07, Arizona was one of the hardest ones to get hit because we weren't very diversified. We depended a lot on farming, crops, cotton, things like that. Well, over the last 15, 20 years, we've spent a lot of time really diversifying, and we've seen a lot of influx, like I've been saying, a lot of influx of people, a lot of different companies moving here, which is causing a lot of diversification when it comes to economic growth in the Arizona economy. And so the Arizona economy, rock solid, incredible. Job growth is amazing. Population is going wild. One of the largest growth population states in the country. For all the reasons I just said, it's really hard to beat Arizona. But those are my pros and my cons of living in Phoenix, Arizona. All right, guys, that wraps up this video. Again, my name is Jeremy Fuhst. I am a local real estate agent. If you are looking to make a move, just give me a comment, shoot me a DM. My contact info will be in the bio down below, but please like, subscribe. This is a new channel. I'm trying to grow it so I can help as many people out as possible. That's who I am, man. You know, I'm not a button-up guy. I just do my best to serve my clients in the best way possible. But if you did like this video, please like, subscribe. Again, my name is Jeremy Fuhst, and I own a company called Impact Real Estate. Love you all. Enjoy your day. Talk soon.